Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone for hanging out for this today. So, you've probably seen on LinkedIn over the last week or two that we've been putting posts out about different products, etc., within the Kensington range that fit in with home working. So, today's webinar is choosing the right home working equipment. And what we really want to explore within this webinar is really some of the pain points that people who've been working over this COVID period may have been experiencing, and what we can perhaps do about that in terms of making you a bit more comfortable. So just so you know who's talking today, I'm Graham Cafe. I'm an ergonomic assessor. In fact, I like to call myself a holistic assessor because I don't just cover the area of ergonomics, I also cover other areas like specific learning difficulties, mental health, autism, etc. as well. But I'm effectively a workplace assessor. I've worked within this area for over 20 years. I've run my own company twice. I took a little bit of a sabbatical for a while and worked within the assistive technology area so that I could upskill into that area as well. And I've then come back to doing this, and now I also do a lot of work in LinkedIn in terms of educating people in the field of ergonomics. I'm joined today by Nick, who's going to tell you a little bit about himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Nick Ravel. I am the ergonomics product manager within Kensington. I manage the ergonomics product range for EMEA. I have been with the company since February 2018, I hope with Graham's help today we can talk through some some really great products that Kensington have to really help improve your home working setup.
So it's going to seem a little bit typical to a lot of people at the moment. I remember getting that sort of the emails coming through, watching it on the news, COVID hit, we all go into lockdown, and suddenly we find ourselves working from home. But I mean, I've been in a position where I've been working from home before for many years. Yes, I do now go out and see people to carry out assessments, but in the previous role, I was primarily sat at home working within a home office. But something very different obviously happened with lockdown. We found ourselves challenged by where we could work in the house. Not only were we having to share that space with our family in the evening, but we also found that sharing the space with the whole family throughout the day. And typically, in terms of working from home, it wasn't just people that were working in the house that were working. Students back from university were working. Children were doing homeschooling. So, I mean, if you look at my house, there's 7 of us here, big family, several laptops going, several tablets going all day long, as well as, working for myself on the computer. There's I have my son working from a computer in one room and my daughter working with a tablet in another room. So it was really, an unprecedented time in terms of trying to find space in the house where you could concentrate, space where you could work, etc. But I think what was really interesting about it is that we all began to feel the need for some ergonomic advice and some change in terms of how we could work better in these different areas. So this became the typical example. I mean, we found people working from laptops, dining room tables, which is a very common one. And typically when I go out to see home workers for assessment, or I go and see students who are studying from home as part of DSA assessments, very, very often they are working from a dining room table. Some people obviously working from desks, but again, typically, majority of people, because they work from a laptop, just get that laptop straight out the bag, put it on the desk surface, put it on the surface that they're working on, and use it straight away. So we've got a couple of products there on the left-hand side that are useful solutions for that, and we'll come on to those in a little bit more detail in a minute. But certainly, there was a growth in sort of aches and pains out there, and some of the surveys that were done at the time by different institutes showed that there was a massive increase in musculoskeletal and back issues over that lockdown period. People not adopting good postures, people not working with the right equipment. So a few days ago on LinkedIn, I asked people to show us their home working setup, and what a great response we had. In the end, I think there was nearly 17,000 views of that post, and about 150 people commented and showed us their workstation. So we're going to have a look at some of those now. So we saw everything within the examples that came in. Everything from minimalist desks like this, very ornate, very wooden, very clean as well. Tiny desks. I like the Scale Electrics in the corner as well. I think that's it's a beautifully tidy desk, but I know when that Scale Electric's out, that house is actually going to be chaos. And even moodlet desks. Not quite sure about that.
I like it.
I like it, yeah. I've seen that in kitchens an awful lot, but very rarely have I seen a moodlet desk wherever I've been. Not quite sure why they have to have the time shown so many times as well. Maybe this is someone that forgets what time of day it is. Some other examples: alfresco desking. We had a fantastically warm start to the year during lockdown. Thank goodness, I think. Otherwise, we would have all gone a little bit more crazy a little bit earlier on. But that did mean that people decided to go outside and work as well. The dining room table, absolutely a favourite. And as you can see there, fairly Heath Robinson type of adjustment, putting a laptop up onto a pillow. But as we'll come to in a minute, massive problems with that. And indeed, a lot of the people that were using ironing boards to begin with, and then raising up the laptop in terms of the height on the ironing board, and perhaps putting books on there, again, didn't pay any attention to the fact that their keyboarding or their inputting height for their keyboard and mouse were actually then wrong. So yes, they were standing, but they're then lifting their arms in order to type.
Probably even on top of that, you probably also got the problem then of a device overheating. Right? If you've got something that insulates as well as a pillow, and you're using your laptop on top of that, then your device is going to start to overheat.
Absolutely, yeah, massive fire risk, and probably the home insurance didn't cover that. So, okay. and even working from the couch. Again, I've seen this on numerous occasions, and I've actually been to assessments where people have told me for 20 odd years, believe it or not, they've worked off of a low coffee table, off of a sofa, and they wonder why they're virtually crippled. But not only that, look at the problems there with wiring, and in fact, this person's using their Apple Mac on the floor, which could be really quite painful. So we had a lot of different examples in, even people with really nice posh offices. I mean, actually, it's good that some people have this kind of space, but you will notice here, as we did, they are using some Kensington products, so that's really rather nice to see. There's a Kensington wrist rest and mouse pad being used with an Apple keyboard and mouse. So, and is it Friday yet, desk? Yeah, we had the odd one where the whiskey or a bottle of wine had made it onto the table before the end of the week. But again, on a lot of these, the positioning of the keyboard or the mouse or screen devices not necessarily correct. If you look at that bureau desk, one that was earlier on, see so many of those where someone buys a a beautifully ornate desk with very deep drawers at the front, but actually it means that their sitting height at the desk compared with where their arms are for typing quite often isn't in balance with their body, or they need to sit higher and then their feet aren't on the floor, and we'll come to where some of the Kensington product can help with that later on. So we want to talk to you a little bit about one of the things that Kensington have in their armoury called the Smart Fit system. And it's a colour-based system, and a lot of the products come with a sheet inside that allows you to place your hand on the sheet. Now, Kensington not for 1 minute are saying to you that if you place your hand on that sheet, that's going to do the whole of your anthropometric measurements. In other words, it's not going to take all of the measurements of your body and immediately say this is the size of equipment that you should have, but it's a good starting point for telling people that you need equipment that has adjustment in it so that it fits more people. And perhaps my colleague can say a little bit more about the Smart Fit system.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, the for the background of the Smart Fit system, it was actually you know, developed I think with research from the US Army. So there were, you know, bits of anthropometric data actually taken from you know, members of the armed forces in the US, and within that we were able to gauge scales. And a kind of a correlation between hand size and general height and posture. So it's as Graham says, it's a starting point for where you should align your products, but it's by no means you know, the ultimate answer, and if you fit perfectly to this color, then this is exactly where it should be, because as we know, everybody has slightly different shapes and sizes of body, and so we just really need to get across the idea that a desk setup shouldn't just be a case of put your computer down where it is and that's it, because that's where you start to encounter some problems. If you're able to actually have a guide as to where you should start to align your screens and your other accessories, this is where you'll start to actually see the benefits and start to see yourself become more productive and you know, certainly more comfortable at your desk.
So now let's get into some of the home working solutions that Kensington do. So we're going to go round the house a little bit, perhaps round the office, and look at some of the different solutions. These are some of the solutions we'll be talking about over the next 10 minutes or so. Please do, if you have any questions at any point, put the questions in the chat, and yeah, we can stop and do any of those questions as we go along, or we can leave those and take some general questions on video at the end as well. So in terms of improving efficiency and the ergonomic of an environment for somebody, because remember, and I often state this to people, products themselves are not ergonomic. Ergonomics is a principle that you apply to how people work within their environment and making that environment work more effectively for people. So, you know, you can have a really good so-called ergonomic chair, for example, but if it doesn't actually suit the tasks and the condition of somebody, and doesn't marry up with their needs and the way that they work, then it isn't actually ergonomic for them. So we're going to talk about a little bit about laptop risers and that whole kind of working piece with these transitory devices. We're going to think about, you know, what people can do on a budget if they need to make some improvements short term for you know, working with in different spaces with dining room chairs or chairs that don't have any kind of adjustment, and that isn't a sort of you know, advice that we're saying, well, you know, you shouldn't invest in a good ergonomic chair. Absolutely invest in a good ergonomic chair, but sometimes, especially in the home, you know, you do need to move very rapidly from one place to another, and it's quite useful to have some things like the cushions that Kensington do in order to be able to make lots of spaces more ergonomic for you as you move around the home. mice and keyboards, so input devices and how those can be used effectively, and also the monitor arms as well, for if you're needing to work with larger screens. So we're going to start with the laptop risers, and again, over to my colleague who's going to just go through some of the range of laptop risers and some of the different advantages and benefits of ones within the Kensington range.
Sure. So, we see here on the left of the screen, you've got the original SmartFit Easy Riser laptop cooling stand. This is a product which has been around for a long time now, and the concept here of showing you laptop risers is, I guess, kind of as the name suggests, a laptop really, it was originally designed to almost be on your lap. It was never really designed to be the permanent computer and have the kind of the correct height of screen that you would necessarily demand from a usual setup in the workplace. So with a laptop riser, it allows you to maintain that the ability to take the device from your home office to your traditional office space, but also when you're in those environments, you can open up the laptop and you can make sure the screens are at the correct height. So the SmartFit Easy Riser laptop cooling stand does exactly that. It allows you to actually open up the laptop and keep the monitor at the correct height for you using the SmartFit system. You can see the coloured stripe on the top kind of barrel part of the product, and so when you align that, it allows you to change the angle and change the height and adjustment of the screen. You can see, of course, the hole really in the middle of the stand provides that additional airflow and circulation to go around the device, and so that gives you that ability to cool it as well. So as we mentioned, when you're with the likes of the picture we saw earlier, if you have a cushion, for example, or some books, they insulate very well, and so they're likely to actually make your device heat up. So you need to allow that additional circulation around the product. Now, the products in the middle there, we have the 14 and 17-inch versions called the Easy Riser Go. These are designed specifically to be able to fold completely flat. You can see at the top there, they also have a convenient location, which is a carry handle. That hole at the top of the product there is a carry handle. So when you fold it flat, you can actually slip it into your backpack or into your bag, and you can take that around with wherever you're actually going as well. So if you're going from your home to a coffee shop or the library or back to the office, you can always have your laptop with you, but also have an ergonomic device which actually raises the screen and opens it up to the correct height and angle, while also providing you that ability to actually cool the device while you go as well. Finally, at the yeah, Lisa.
Samir had a question. Is it only for 14-inch and 17-inch? Do you want to clarify which devices would fit on each laptop riser?
Well, I mean, so there's always a certain amount of kind of room to adjust with these things. So a laptop riser which is designed to fit a 17-inch laptop can of course be used for a wider range of laptops. The 14-inch one is of course designed to be more slimline, so it is designed for use with the smaller devices, but that's not to say if you had a smaller device you couldn't use it on that as well. And so the same goes for a 17-inch laptop stand. You could use all kind of devices, we would say up to a 17-inch laptop. 17-inch laptops, generally speaking, I think are slightly rarer these days, but more in line perhaps with gaming laptops or high-end kind of processing laptops. So pretty much the idea there is that by saying we have a 14-inch and a 17-inch version, we accommodate the broadest range of devices. Finally, I'll just go on to the final product on the right side of the screen there. This is perhaps a more traditional laptop riser, so raises the entire laptop up from the desk. Also has SmartFit built in, so you can actually adjust those bar sections on the sides, and then again allows that further adjustability to keep it at the correct height for you. In the case of the one we're showing on screen here, it's actually got a built-in wireless charging pad included as well. So for that added convenience, so you can actually just plop your phone down in front of you, as long as it's got wireless charging capabilities. Keep it in front of you under the laptop, and that charges while you're actually working as well. We would say, when using all of these laptop stands, it is important to also use an external keyboard as well for that additional level of comfort, just so that you're not overreaching, of course, to try and reach the keyboard.
There it is.
And there it is.
Your
There you
point
go.
made.
Jump the gun.
And then we're straight on to keyboards. So again, like a lot of the products within the Kensington range, there's a range at different price points. We don't want to talk necessarily specific prices today, but there's several channels you can go through to buy these products. Kensington sell for a number of channels, but it's important to know that Kensington have a series of products that meet the demands at different price points, of course with increasing functionality as you go through the ranges. So what we have here is some keyboards starting off with a wired value keyboard, which gives you that additional keyboard for your laptop to be used with a mouse as well, if you're going to use that with the laptop riser. But there's some, then there are other things like the wireless keyboards. I'll again let my colleague talk about the benefits of some of these in a second. But what I would say is, importantly, looking at these devices going forward, is that it's very, very much a case at the moment that a lot of people are going to have to start moving some of this kit to and from work as well. So maybe some of the wireless devices are going to become more popular, because if you're 2 days at home and then 2 days in the office, for example, if you're on a shift pattern to go back to the office, then you do need that kind of wireless solution so that you can easily move between the two. Perhaps you'd like to tell us a little bit more about the Ergo wireless desktop set, for example, and why the advanced slim wireless keyboard is called advanced.
Yeah, I mean, if I in fact start down at the bottom left there, almost bring some of the features back to some personal experiences that I've found during this whole period as well. The Advanced Fit slim wireless keyboard, for one, being wireless, obviously tries to maintain that clean desk approach, so you don't have the cables that could get tangled up, which can also limit your space, and obviously makes it easier to tidy away if you are, say, using a dining table or even an ironing board at the start of this, as we talked about. But also the ability to have the silent keys. I've personally found is so valuable. Certainly when you have more than one person working in the same room or in close proximity. I think we've all probably got to know another side of our partners, their work personalities, and so during all of this, and so being able to, I've found that actually my wife is a very loud typer, so actually having a keyboard with the keys which have a reduced volume and very kind of silent key, as we say, really does help with that. The ergonomic wireless desktop set. This is products which really are designed to overcome any of the problems with kind of continuous muscle usage and muscle strains you may find. So the concept of, I think we know about pronation, for example. This where your hands and wrists are incorrectly aligned or over tensed over time when you use traditional mice and keyboards. Can actually lead to some discomfort in some of the muscles that you have. So by using a split keyboard, this actually keeps your hands in the correct position and a more natural position to make it much more comfortable to type and work. And the same goes with the vertical wireless mouse that's part of that desktop set, that actually realigns your hand to what we would say is the handshake position, which is a much more natural position for your hand to be, and avoids any excess strain on the forearm in particular.
That's brilliant. And a product that isn't out in the UK just yet, but will be very soon, is the last one there, the short track wireless mouse.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. Sorry, yeah. The short track wireless mouse. These can be used on any surface. So I think at the very start, you mentioned, Graham, you were using I think a glass desk. We showed an IKEA desk which would have a laminated surface. We have I personally use like a bamboo finish on top, and so it can be used across all of these different types of desks and surfaces. Which there is no consistency really across the way that we all work, because we were suddenly put into this situation. So we're kind of making do, and you know, something like this allows you to use these devices across all different surfaces that you could possibly have the need for. Plus, of course, at the same time, they come in you know, 5 different colors, which can tie in nicely with your home design aesthetic.
Well, I actually think the coloured thing's quite good, because again, you know, if you're in a big house like this, sometimes you can get fighting over equipment.
Yeah.
Especially with children.
Yeah.
You know, having different colours, you can buy each one a different colour. That's good.
There you go.
And everyone knows whose is whose. Coming on to another thing which has been very, very popular over the years, I know with Kensington, which is wrist rests and mouse mats. Now, I'm going to have to pick up and say that, you know, a lot of ergonomists in recent years have kind of poo-pooed a lot of wrist rests because it's felt that it's better to not put any pressure on the wrist itself. But a lot of your pads actually do sit a little bit further back, and you can actually use them more under the forearms to actually give movement behind the wrist. And I think also it's really important to say here as well that we are particularly talking about the home market. And I think from what we saw earlier with some of the desks that were displayed to us, some of them weren't even desks. Some of them were pretty roughshod. A lot of people have surfaces that haven't got a nice edge to them. They haven't got any kind of chamfer to the edge of it. And so actually some on some pretty bad surfaces under their wrists at the desk. So again, some of these products are designed to just give a better cushioning surface to be working on. Do you want to just say something a little bit about these ranges?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so if we speak about the ErgoSoft range to begin with, the reasoning for calling it ErgoSoft really is to do with the feel and texture of the outer surface that you would actually be using most often. So the outer surface is actually designed specifically to almost feel like a skin type feel. So it's very soft and very subtle to the touch. You know, we also, as you can see, that we have a black and a grey white range. So that's taking inspiration from some of the new devices that are coming into the marketplace. So, you know, of course, quite often in the past, you would have found that the vast majority of devices were black. We also see that there's a tendency for a bring your own device trend when actually going into the workplace. But now even more so, now that you're permanently at home, you may find that, I know, Graham, in your case, I think you're using a Mac, and many people using Microsoft Surface devices, things like that. And so having a range of ergonomic products which actually tie in with the aesthetic is actually much more important than you would realize, considering the amount of time that we're now spending in these environments at home. We also look, you know, there at the adjustable ranges of products. So it's again a case of one size does not fit all. So we recognize that and know that you know, build in the smart fit technology into even our wrist rests. So that if you're you know, using even a different size of mouse, if you're using a vertical mouse, if you're using a slightly larger mouse or a smaller mouse, you've always got that level of adjustability for whether it be the mouse pad or the wrist rest or even the keyboard as well. I think finally we have one there which actually is almost just it's like a cradle almost, you can see for the wrist. So that one specifically designed for people who may have issues with carpal tunnel. It avoids any compression and tension on the veins and tendons, which could cause carpal tunnel syndrome. Again, with smart fit built in.
I think I should just explain that because it does look or it could look like those bits that are inserted are hard plastic, but they're not. They're actually a fairly soft material. So
correct, yeah.
Don't think that you're putting your wrist on something really hard there, because that wouldn't be comfortable for anybody.
No, absolutely.
And again, something that I probably recognised as a Kensington product going back years, footrests. But going back to some of those desks that we talked about earlier, and having spoken to a number of people and done online assessments with people, over the COVID period. So many people sitting at surfaces that are too high for them, and therefore sitting too low, and therefore the shoulder position is raised, the arms are further forward, and people are hunching, and all of that comes down to not being able to support the feet properly when sat at a desk. And it's one of those things where unless you have a fully height adjustable desk, and some people are privileged to do those, but as you could see from our little LinkedIn quiz thing that we did the other day, that's very few people at the moment. Unless you have one of those, you can't take terra firma down. So one of the ways of supporting yourself at the right height is to
bring
your foot level up. So here we have some footrests. Do you want to have a quick chat?
Yeah. Again, I'll start up the top left here with the rocking footrest. As the name suggests, really the bar in the middle there actually pivots and rocks, so allows you to increase your movement while you're sat at your desk. Again, speaking personally during this whole experience, I've actually found that I have a tendency to get up even less often from my desk while working from home, because when you were in the office, you would probably have got up to go and speak to your colleague, for example. You would have walked halfway around the building, made yourself a cup of tea or coffee, and at least stretched your legs a little bit when you're actually in the traditional office. But when you're working from home, it's very easy to let time just slip away. Before you know it, it's the end of the day and you've only got out of your seat once or twice. And so having a product like this that encourages a bit of movement while you're sat down, at least improves that circulation and helps your overall well-being while sat at your desk. As Graham said as well, the other footrests we have down in the bottom left corner there, the Soulmate footrests, these really do help to raise your feet to the correct height and angles. So taking into account the different types of desk and different setups that we do have, you can see there that we even have a product with a carpeted surface. So for that added level of comfort, you could even take your shoes and socks off and feel like you're not even using a footrest at all, as if you're just using your living room carpet, but actually you're repositioning your body to the correct ergonomic height. Same goes as well, I think, for the backrests. As part of the C setup. I think Graham, you were talking about the different types of chairs and how we don't really all have we don't have access to the classic kind of ergonomic chairs that you would otherwise have in the office space. If you're just using, for example, a dining room chair, you need to adapt that in some way to be much more comfortable for you to use and be more productive when you're using it. And so a backrest does exactly that, and leading on perfectly to the seat cushions as well. If you're sitting all day on a hard surface, if you've got wooden dining room chairs, they may look really nice and be very practical for a dining situation, but they're not the most practical when using them to sit on all day, every day for an 8-hour day of work at your desk. So being able to replicate that setup you have in the office by using some simple, cost-effective products such as these, backrests and seat cushions, really is as I see it, the kind of the simple option to set yourself up very quickly.
Yeah, you can see with that top one as well, it's got a cutout around the coccyx area, so the slight raising in the front of it means that you do bring your legs slightly apart, which is actually a slightly better position for in terms of pelvic adjustment, in order to keep more of an upright pelvic position. And then the cutout around the coccyx area relieves any kind of tension around the coccyx. And you'd be surprised how many people out there actually have some kind of lower back stroke coccyx issue, where they get referred pain through the coccyx and ischia in the lower part of the spine. And one of the areas where that's really, really useful quite often is with ladies in the third trimester of their pregnancy as well. So if we have anybody on the call that's going through pregnancy, congratulations as as we speak. But also you may well find that as the baby shifts position in the pelvis, that you actually experience some kind of coccyx pain. So again, that cushion's incredibly useful for that as well. And we go on to the last of the big sort of adjustments really, and you saw that I was challenged on LinkedIn earlier today, if you followed my post, to build a monitor arm. I'll show you the results of that shortly, but I did get on rather well, and I was pleasantly surprised to find it only took me about 10 minutes to put a monitor arm together. But the reason that I set myself that challenge and put that post out there is I think this is one adjustment where I think with a lot of the other adjustments, they slide out of the box and people are fairly comfortable with that. They feel that, you know, it's not going to require an awful lot to set that up. But monitor arms are one of the things where I think traditionally over the years, people in the home haven't necessarily gravitated towards monitor arm, and just may do with raising the larger monitor up, etc., because they think it might be quite complicated. They're not going to be able to put the monitor on the desk, etc. But a number of your monitor arms I know have not just the sort of G clamp around the back, but also have options for going through the desk. So if the desk already has a cable port, or you can get someone with a circular diameter cutter and a drill to drill a hole through a desktop, then it can be fitted through the desk as well. Big advantages in terms of having a monitor arm over having just having height adjustment for your monitor. Perhaps you could talk through some of those advantages.
Yeah. I mean, so really, I think the ability to change the height and position of the monitor itself while you're actually progressing through the day is so important. You know, whether it's changing the angle of the screen if you decide you're slightly moving position, or changing where you're seated, or if you decide that you want to actually stand up and work for a while, then certainly with the one-touch monitor arms, you can lift that monitor up and raise it to the correct height, so you can actually work while standing as well. Changing the angles, as I say, you can pivot, you can twist. So, you know, all of these different abilities to move the display itself gives you that additional adjustability and that kind of variety of working. So it really covers all bases. And I think also tying back to when we were talking about how to set these products up, it also links back to our smart fit system. You know, with a monitor arm in the past, you probably as a home user would never really have given it much consideration to how you set it up, but because in the office you would have had your facilities manager or somebody else come in and just pre-install it. It would have just been there for you, whereas in your home setup, if you have to do it yourself, having something like smart fit included in something like a monitor arm allows you to immediately get that guidance on roughly where should I put the height of this monitor. You know, being able to quickly install it with the use of a C clamp, which will attach to virtually any type of desk or table. You know, whether it be a dining table or you have a dedicated workstation setup. Being able to just screw something on and attach it to a standard width of desk is invaluable, really, at a time like this. Certainly, with the gas spring kind of technology, allows you to adjust infinitely with no tools at all.
And one of the things I would say, which is that when you think about it, it's a very obvious advantage of a monitor arm as well, is extra desk space. And it's one thing that people forget, but obviously if you raise your monitor up on a stand that's literally goes vertically straight off the back of the monitor, or you just pile that monitor up on a set of books, etc., or just buy a piece of wood from a certain furniture company that or all over Europe, then it does the job of raising it up in height, but you're actually using a lot of the desk space underneath that monitor. And I think a lot of people end up compromising their position at the desk, or the position of their input devices, or the way that they work when they write, etc., because they have to shift things. They would have to shift things about all of the time in order to make that space available to them on the desk. When you have a monitor arm, you've got all of that clear space under the monitor, so that is space where you papers can go, files can go, etc. If you're working from them, it more often than not prevents people from having to twist and turn when they're using those input devices, and that is a massive adjustment that can be beneficial to people. And there we see the SmartFit Ergo monitor as arm as I built earlier today with its little coding at the top. Very, very easy to put together, and you know, and very affordable at a very good price point as well. So we did that little competition earlier in the week. People showed us their desks, and we were giving away one of these, which is rather nice of us. So we like to finish these webinars on a bit of a flourish. I have actually contacted the winner, who I will announce in a minute, and I told that person that they've won, and I've actually filmed that. So if you look out for my posts, if you follow Graham Cofer on LinkedIn, or my hashtag, which is A Better Way of Life, you will actually see me presenting that, or virtually presenting that to the person that's won. And I am told that once they receive it, they're going to display that for us and do a little post for us as well to show us all how that's benefited them in their home working space. So nice prize. Now, if you're watching this now and you might want to get your hands on one of these kits, or you want to find out more about the Kensington, a little bit more about the Kensington products, a lot of the team from Kensington will be at the Kensington Big Night Out. If you haven't heard of that, then again, follow the Kensington posts on LinkedIn, on my posts on LinkedIn over the next week or so. It's basically a nice networking event. It's not going to be a sales pitch. We're not going to expect you to buy anything because you come along. We just want to meet with you, find out about, you know, talk to you about perhaps some of the pain points that you've had over working through this COVID period. Crack open a drink, you know, whatever that might be you know, shandy or something stronger, and we will also have a pub quiz as part of the evening, which will be interactive. So do bring your phones, and you'll be able to vote on your phones for the right answers. Someone will win that quiz, and they will win one of these. We may even have a sing song. Might even get some of the Kensington people to do some karaoke. Let's see how up for that they are. But the winner of this kit this time round was this office here, and it was Gemma Lee Bevan. So congratulations, Gemma. As I say, you can watch Gemma's reaction to me telling her that she won on LinkedIn very shortly. I'll be posting that shortly after this webinar. But it won for several reasons. One is that it clearly needed some adjustment. As you can see, Gemma works currently at the moment. She's a social media company. So she's working very long hours. I mean, I know when I spoke to her earlier today, sometimes she's been working 16 hours through this period in a day, and she's been working directly off her laptop. So really will benefit from having that laptop riser and the separate keyboard and mouse. In fact, she was going to go and buy a separate keyboard and mouse. So it came at the right time for her. But also, you know, it's an office space that got quite a number of likes from different people on the post. I think particularly because we're all quite jealous of her wall fresco there with the lights as well. I mean, that's rather nice. But that's one of two offices that they have in their house, because both her and her husband both work from home. So thank you all for coming. It's now time to take any questions. So I hope you've enjoyed the presentation part of this, but I will make sure I stop screen sharing and over to any questions.
And just so you know, I did post the link to register for the big night out in the chat area, as well as next week's webinar on agile working. So they do have that information there, and We had one question come in, Nick, about AES encryption on
Mhm.
wireless keyboards and just what the AES encryption was. Jim posted that it was 128, which I believe is the correct answer.
Yes.
So we answered that in the chat during.
Yep, absolutely, perfect. Yeah. I mean, the principle of AES encryption being that you can't. It basically stops people from hacking into the wireless connection. So getting in the middle of the connection between your wireless keyboard and your laptop, for example, so they can't hack into it in that way. So that's what AES encryption does. It just protects you from any malicious hacking.
Yep. So come along to these events, because I think education is the key with all of these products. It's all very well just buying products off of a website and thinking, well, I hope that will do. We want to make sure that it will do for you. So there's a lot of information and a lot of advice that we're putting forward and helping people with at the moment. And I'm quite happy for people just to drop me a message on, or DM me on LinkedIn after this, and ask me questions about their home setups, etc. Because the more we educate people, the more we use our expertise and advice. For me, over, as I say, about 20 years now of assessing and looking at different people's work setups, the more people will actually be more comfortable. If you haven't already followed Kensington online, do that. Go to their company page and follow their company page, because the details of the events are on there as well. And as I say, do look me up on LinkedIn as well and connect with me, because that would be good. And you'll hear about all of the events that I'm taking part in as well.
If there's no more questions though, I think that's everything. That's been really good, really informative, I think.